My son is getting married during the National Day holiday. While I was trying on the mother of the bride dress at the qipao shop, my son rushed in to find me. Upon seeing him, I quickly showed him the dress I had chosen. This purple qipao is elegant, and the other one before I could finish my sentence. My son snatched the dress from my hands and threw it on the ground. Mom, you really shouldn't come to my wedding. It would look awful if you just sat up on the stage by yourself. Dad and Kara look good together. It'll reflect well on me if I have a nice wedding. Don't you think? I trembled and incredulously asked him, You don't want me at your wedding? What about when you were a child and let that scumbag of a dad go? You've forgotten that. My son, feeling agitated, interrupted my rambling. That's all ancient history. Why can't you just let it go? There any point? Dad just doesn't love you and despises you. But I'm still his biological son. We share blood, something you could never understand. Alright, I don't understand. Since they have such a deep father, I'm sure his father will help him arrange everything. Then, an unrefined person, prepared must surely be beneath my son's standards. My divorce from his father was dignified either. After he made some money, he felt I was unworthy of him and refused to share the family assets, even coaxing his mistress to come home and provoke me. I was also struggling to cope. I thought after enduring hardship with you for so many years, divorce was fine. But you had to give me half of the assets. The price of my stubbornness was countless arguments and fight. During the worst one, husband smashed a thermos filled with boiling water onto me while I was holding our son, trying to soothe him to sleep, like a stinking, rotten relationship. My wounds instantly bubbled up and turned red. Our son's little face also suffered a large burn blip. My ex-husband not only refused to take us to the hospital, but also said, Addie, if you delay for a day, it'll hit you once. I know you're not afraid. But are you afraid it'll hit your son? Panicking, I retorted, You're not human. Baker is your son too. Even a tiger wouldn't eat its cubs. Instead, he glared at us fiercely. My ex-husband mocked with a laugh. Many people would want to give me a son. If this one died, I could always have more. Saying, he viciously pressed down on Baker's blister. That time, I was genuinely scared. To gain custody of Baker, I had to leave with nothing, lacking a degree and skills. I was forced to do the dirtiest and hardest job, with no one to care for Baker. I carried him on my back to work on construction site, and I worked on sewing machines at a garment factory. I endured this for nearly 10 years until Baker started junior high. Finally, I managed to open a small shop in town selling cotton and settled down after fighting my way through life. Baker faced a lot of pressure in his senior year to help him get the nutrition he needed. No matter how busy and tired I was, I personally made him nutritious meals to bring over. Sometimes I was so busy that cotton fluff would stick to my eyelashes. That year, when Baker turned 18, his slender youthful figure brushed away the cotton fluff from my eyelashes and, with his big innocent eyes, he solemnly promised me, Mom, I will study hard, get into a good university, and earn lots and lots of money so that you can live the best life in the world. His promise still echoes in my ears. The son I raised with my own hands despises me for being single and unrefined and doesn't allow me to attend his wedding. He even said I wouldn't understand the deep bond between him and his father. After my son left, I carefully picked up the mother of the bride dress from the floor, gently stroking the smooth fabric and intricate pattern, and apologetically handed it back to the shop owner. These two dresses haven't had the tags removed. I don't need a mother of the bride dress anymore. Could you please help me find something suitable for everyday wear? The shop owner, smart enough not to ask too many questions, handed me a dark green and a light purple qipao. Why don't you try these on? After changing, I stared dazedly at the elegant woman in the mirror and couldn't help but smile at her. The woman in the mirror smiled back at me. I couldn't help but laugh again. The shop owner chuckled. Oh dear. Have you fallen in love with your own beauty? After saying that, she pulled me to the vanity. When you buy a qipao from our shop, you get a styling service, right? I nodded. watching as the woman in the mirror transformed into someone increasingly exquisite and beautiful under the shop owner's skilled hands. After leaving the clothing store, I took a taxi to the hotel where Baker's wedding was being held. The manager confirmed again. If you cancel now, there will be a 30% fee deducted. Are you sure you want to cancel the wedding banquet scheduled for a month later? I nodded seriously, since I wasn't allowed to appear at the wedding. I figured Baker probably wouldn't want the wedding either. After receiving the refund of 87,600 yuan that I paid for the hotel, I felt refreshed and took a taxi to a jewelry store. With this money, I bought myself a beautiful gold bracelet. Baker had mentioned many times that after getting married, as a mother-in-law, I should give my daughter-in-law a gold bracelet and that I should take her to choose it together. When I put the bracelet worth 38,000 on my wrist, I finally understood why my daughter-in-law Adeline loved gold bracelets so much. That smell of copper truly is alluring. After leaving the jewelry store, I stood on the street, watching the endless flow of people. Ever since becoming a single mother, my entire focus had been on my son. Once he went to college, I dedicated myself to the cotton shop. However, last year, my cotton shop was demolished during the town's redevelopment. And apart from compensation of 2 storefronts and 1 million yuan in cash, I had nothing left. Just as I was feeling confused, my son graduated from college and returned home with his girlfriend to hold their wedding. If he cared about me even a little bit, he would have noticed that my cotton shop had closed. But he never realized it. In fact, when I met Adeline, he disdainfully remarked to her, "My mom has no ability and no education. All she can do is cotton work." The first time I met my future daughter, I held back my urge to retort. Little did I know that during the engagement, booking the hotel, and the wedding preparation, my son was so busy that he didn't even ask me how my business was doing. And then there was the wedding planning. I hailed a taxi again, heading straight to the wedding planning company. When I informed them that I wanted to cancel the wedding services, the young saleswoman froze, forcing a smile as she asked if I was dissatisfied with something. I had no choice but to make up a reason. The wedding is cancelled. The bride and groom aren't getting married anymore. What point of having wedding planning? As soon as I finished speaking, my son Baker and his fiancée Adeline happened to walk into the wedding planning company to discuss the wedding detail. Upon seeing me, Baker's eyes blazed with anger. "I already told you that you can't come to the wedding. Why are you dressed like an old hag? Who are you trying to impress?" He shoved me aside. Adeline pulled his arm. But he exclaimed, "Look, I'm begging you. We're exhausted preparing for the wedding. You can't help. So please don't create more trouble for us." The saleswoman glanced between me, Baker, carefully asking, "Are we canceling the wedding planning or not?" "Cancel? Why are we canceling?" My voice and Baker's echoed simultaneously. Baker looked at me in disbelief. "Ma, can you please stop making a scene? I'm really exhausted these past few days. You don't even understand the wedding process. Why are you meddling? Besides, there's only a month left until the wedding. Where we find something suitable, my dad and Kara will accompany us to the hotel for rehearsal tomorrow. If you cancel now, how am I supposed to explain to them?" I watched my son's mouth move, unable to believe that after I had left with nothing, I ended up raising such an ungrateful wolf. What did he think of me? How did he interpret my care and love for him? Standing tall, I turned to the saleswoman and firmly requested, "I want to cancel the wedding planning. Please help me with the process." Baker's face turned pale as he crossed his arm, looking at me. "Go ahead. I want to see how you manage this." Adeline poured me a cup of water from the water dispenser and handed it to me. "Auntie, there's something troubling you?" Just as I took the cup, Baker slapped it out of my hand. "Adeline, don't pay attention to her. It's just menopause. She's full of tricks." After saying that, he added, "I want to see what kind of wedding planning you can replace this with." Then, without even glancing at my water, he dragged Adeline away. The saleswoman kindly handed me a tissue, saying nothing more, and directly processed my cancellation. The refund was 90,000 yuan. After the finance department confirmed it, my bank card was updated. Though this cancellation cost me quite a bit, at least I didn't give anything to that ungrateful son. When I returned home, it was already 7 in the evening. But the agent I had contacted earlier still came to see me excitedly. "MT, are you sure you want to sell your house? You don't know. The lady next door has wanted to live right across from her son for a long time. She contacted you before, but you never agreed." That house was one I'd bought for Baker with all my savings after he decided to return home to develop his career. At that time, he was out of town, and the owner of the house needed to sell it quickly because they were going abroad. I bought it under my own name. I originally planned to transfer it to him after he got married. It seemed fortunate that it was in my name, with Baker now having a biological father. He certainly wouldn't care about the house prepared by his embarrassing mother, because the other party wanted it urgently. The paperwork moved quickly. Once the $1,000,000 hit my account, I truly realized that I didn't want Baker as my son anymore. Coincidentally, the owner of the qipao shop invited me to go to Suzhou with her to buy supplies. I thought for a moment, packed my bags, and left with her. After being stuck in this town for decades, it only takes 3 hours by high-speed train to get from my city to Suzhou. The high-speed train station was crowded, and the shop owner cheerfully held my shoulder. "Come on, hold your head high and walk confidently." I cooperated with her, making an exaggerated gesture. After arriving in Suzhou, she didn't have time to accompany me around. She spent every day in the clothing market and learning skills from local masters. Each morning, I would go to the local morning market and eat a few sticky milk cakes, then leisurely stroll along the streets of Suzhou. One day, after buying a budding lotus flower from a street vendor, all interrupted my peek. As soon as I answered the phone, Baker's accusations came through the receiver clearly. "Have you chosen a wedding planner? I told you that the previous one was good. With such short notice. Have you booked anyone yet? Dad and Kara have already arrived. Hurry up and tell us which wedding planning company you contacted." I stared at the lotus flower in my hand, gently pinching off a wilting stem, and chuckled softly. "Your dad is here. Why don't you ask him to book the wedding planner? What do you need me? Someone who's not on your level." Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." There was a full 10 seconds of silence on the other end before Baker spoke up. "What are you talking about? No wonder Dad insisted on divorcing you. Why can't you ever grasp the point of my word? It's already time. We've sent out the invitation, and there are only 20 days until the wedding. Are you still sulking?" I tossed the pinched off stem into the trash can and sneered. Baker, probably furious, took a deep breath. "Mom, can you even listen to me? There are 20 days left. 20 days? Why are you so nonchalant? If the wedding planner isn't finalized, are we all just going to sit at the hotel and eat?" I slowly placed the lotus flower into my woven bag and replied softly. "Now that you mention the hotel, I forgot. I canceled that too." Baker roared like thunder. "Abby, are you sick? If you're sick, go take your medicine. Why are you torturing me? I told you not to go to the wedding site. Is that such a big deal? I've endured my mother-in-law's nonsense. How can you, my own mother, not only refuse to help but also create trouble behind my back?" The pace of life in Suzhou was slow, and I didn't want to listen to his shouting in such a peaceful place. Nor did I want to think about the fact that I'd worked my whole life to raise such an ungrateful son. I hung up the phone and blocked Baker's number. Unfortunately, no matter how good my mood was, it was ruined. It's just because you won't let me go to the wedding, kept flashing in my mind. Just because I couldn't attend the wedding, did that mean I should ruthlessly discard my beloved son of many years? Had I sheltered Baker from too much rain and wind that he had forgotten the pain caused by carrying Kara? It had been 3 years since I left with nothing, and during that time, Harry found a mistress. Somehow, Kara discovered the clues. To protect his charming mistress, that scoundrel Carrie accused me of seducing him under the guise of the child. To make it more believable, he deliberately approached Baker, who was only 7 that year. At that time, I was worried about Baker being too young. fearing that instilling bad thoughts in him would affect his mental and physical health. So I always said that we had separated amicably. This gave Carrie an opening. With just a bit of performance, he took Baker to an amusement park and bought him a few toys, winning his heart. When Kara was searching for clues on his phone, he took Baker and admitted his mistake. "Honey, I'm sorry. I can't bear to part with the child," and gave Addie a chance to show my determination. "In front of you, I'm cutting off all ties with Baker. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other." That year, when Baker was 7, he was brutally beaten by his own father in front of his stepmother. The little boy curled up, crying out, "Dad," then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." But it was of no use. To placate his current wife, Carrie lost his humanity. When I arrived at Carrie and Carr's house in a state of unease, I found Baker covered in bruises, having been pushed into the rain. Looking at my nearly lifeless son, I felt the first urge to kill. I even imagined at least 10 ways to silently end Carrie's life, despite the disparity in our strength. But my child was like a rag doll. Without my care, without me nurturing him to grow up, he would be so pitiful in the future. I could report Carrie to the police, but if he ended up with a criminal record, it would cause trouble for Baker if he ever wanted to study law. I was unsure of what Baker would like in the future, but I couldn't deprive him of the opportunity to choose when he was still so young. That day, heavy rain fell, flooding my knees, and I carried my battered son to the hospital. Baker had a fever for 3 whole days, and I thought we had reached a mutual understanding that we would never involve ourselves with Carrie again in this lifetime. I had planned not to return before the National Day holiday. The house I sold previously still had a few processes that required my presence. When I got home, it was 9 o'clock at night. Covered in words, menopausal old monster. Selfishly enjoying life without caring for her son. Severing mother? Even if you die, I won't collect your body. There were too many unsightly words. And the shocking read combined with Baker's familiar handwriting instantly drenched my previously calm heart like a tide. When Baker was young, handwriting was good. To help him develop nice handwriting, I sent him to calligraphy class every afternoon, regardless of rain or shine. He was playful as a child, often unable to concentrate on his homework, so I would move his stool and keep an eye on him while he wrote. After 5 years of this, he finally developed a beautiful script, but now that same handwriting looked sinister, baring its fangs at me. I awkwardly wiped away the tears streaming down my face with the back of my hand and took out my keys to open the door. However, no matter how I tried, it wouldn't open. After contacting the locksmith, I learned that someone had blocked the keyhole. I had to replace the lock. The locksmith was quite talkative. Looking at the wall covered in reed paint, he skillfully worked on changing the lock while probing me. "Did your son do this? I's the one who blocked your lock too. What did you do to make your child hate you this much? What parent can withstand their child's wrath? You should take it easy. You'll need to rely on your son when you get old. What will you do in the future after making things so tense?" I closed my eyes. Even changing a lock couldn't bring me peace, seeing that I hadn't spoken for a long time. The locksmith commented, "You're not very likable. Are you?" He even knew he was likable. As we were talking, Baker, I don't know how, found out I was back today and came to find me angrily. A bit frustrated. He's, "Look at my mouth. Are you really back? Can't you have fun outside anymore?" I looked at the arrogant man in front of me, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't reconcile him with the boy who promised me a good life years ago. Then, Baker leaned closer. "Don't you want to go to my wedding? Adeline said that you raised me single-handedly. If you can't attend my wedding, the arrangements are all linked together. After discussing it with Kara, you'll sit in the audience while Kara and Dad go up to serve tea to the bride. Although you won't be on stage, your seat will be at the front. Don't be willful. There are only 18 days until the wedding. Hurry up and tell me the wedding planner and hotel you contacted, or there won't be enough time for rehearsal." The locksmith was completely bewildered by the string of information. No, sister. Did you give birth to a little monster? You can tolerate your son not letting you attend his wedding? You should just take care of him. How can you let that little brat get away with this? Your wedding won't let your mom on stage. But instead, you want your dad and stepmother on stage? Baker scratched his head irritably. What does it have to do with you? The locksmith, slowly packing up his tool. You have to shout when you see injustice. You should act when it's time to act. Looking at Baker's pale face, the locksmith couldn't help but hum a tune while I handed him a 100 yuan rate envelope. I couldn't help but give a little extra to the locksmith. After the locksmith left, Baker pushed open the door to my small apartment without waiting for my reaction and walked in. Even if you're jealous, there should be a limit, right? Adeline's parents are coming next week. With your wedding planner and hotel all in disarray. What will they think of you as their harsh mother-in-law? I know you've already booked a new one. Why don't you just tell me the name? Even at this point, Baker was still confident, thinking I was just throwing a tantrum. Even if I canceled the wedding planner and hotel, it was to give him something better. My meticulous care and 20 years of unconditional love had made Baker forget that besides being his mother, I was also Addie, and I had my own identity. This is my last notice to you. I won't go to your wedding. Don't say you'll let me sit in the audience. Even if you ask me to go on stage right now, I won't go. I haven't even booked a new wedding planner or hotel. If I wanted to, I wouldn't have canceled the previous one. I just simply don't want to spend money and worry about you anymore. Baker looked incredulous. I don't believe it. How could you not care about me? Why couldn't Baker understand simple words? Aren't you blood related to your dad? Now you can have him handle the wedding for you. I'm just a single, divorced woman with no dignity. What right do I have to help you with this? After confirming that I had indeed canceled the wedding planner and hotel, and had no intention of helping him find a new one, Baker cursed at me furiously. Fine. I'll regret it in the future. With that, he slammed the door and left. How could I not regret it? I regretted giving up half of my assets for him. Struggling on construction sites and in garment factories while carrying him on my back. I regretted all the effort I had poured into him and decided it was time to cut my losses. Baker was even more ruthless than I had imagined. He edited our chat recordings and posted them online, along with the caption, "My biological mom canceled my wedding planner and hotel just to use that money to support an old man." In the video, I looked like a thin, disheveled figure from a few years back at the cotton factory, with cotton fluff stuck to my eyelashes. The sensational caption, paired with such a contrasting image, instantly lit up the comment section. Wait, Auntie looks like this, and she still wants to find an old man? Where did I go wrong? If Auntie can find an old man, I should be able to find 10 or 8 male models. What's wrong with that? Where's my money? Who took my money? You need a son who's getting married. If you have a son getting married, cancel the wedding and banquet, and you'll definitely have a wallet male model. Amidst the mocking, there were also many voices condemning me. How can a woman of her age be so ungrateful? Seeing Auntie like the, she can't even help her son. Why is she dragging him down? If I had parents like that, I'd be furious. Finn naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kind of emotional videos." In just half a day, the news that a single mother had canceled her son's wedding banquet and ceremony just to find an old man was trending. I learned about this news while cleaning the raid paint at my door. While I was working, Lee's daughter came to visit her mother with her grandson. The little girl innocently pointed at me and said to her mom, "Is that her? The one who canceled her son's wedding banquet and ceremony to find an old man?" The girl's mother laughed awkwardly. "The child doesn't understand. She doesn't understand." As she spoke, she pulled her child inside. I couldn't help but wonder. I opened my phone to watch the short video, and many marketing accounts were using my photo as a meme. "He's old and doesn't bathe. For my old man. How about my son?" The comment section was buzzing even more, with many people condemning me, saying that at my age, I wasn't helping my son but dragging him down instead. I gritted my teeth and followed the comments to find my son's original video, staring at the photo that Baker had posted. My trembling hands turned to shivers of anger. Baker had posted a picture from the year of his college entrance examination, taken when I hurriedly delivered him lunch amidst my busy schedule, and he happened to be photographed with his classmates during graduation. That time, I felt shy, fearing I would embarrass Baker. Mom is busy bringing you lunch and didn't have time to wash her face. I'm a mess. Your classmates will laugh at you. What did Baker? He pulled me close, generously asking his classmates to take a picture of us together. My mom is so busy and still brings me lunch every day. Do you guys think it's funny? The cute students around chimed in. Auntie, we're so jealous. You have no idea how bad the cafeteria food is. Baker gets your love every day. You don't know how envious we are. At that time, Baker's smile was genuine happiness and satisfaction. How did he grow up to be so ungrateful? He cleverly posted the video, only showing my photo. Others would only condemn me and wouldn't say much about him. He cared so much about appearances. Why shouldn't I just step on his fig leaf? After some exploration, I finally learned how to post a video. I posted exactly the graduation photo I had saved as my phone wallpaper. Accompanying it was a long text. From the year you were 4. I left everything behind for your custody. Now it's exactly 21 years. During these past 20 plus years, because I can't provide you with a complete and wealthy home, I feel deeply sorry for you. That's why I spoiled you excessively, leading you to believe that a mother's love can be endlessly demanded. That is my fault. Poverty can crush anyone's spine, but it will never crush some other's spirit. Seeing the photo you posted, I can't help but ask myself, how did this son who promised to treat me well when he was 18, after 4 years of college and 1 year of graduation, turn into this? Is it that your father's bad traits are something I can never change? No matter how much effort I put in, since you posted that solo photo. Or perhaps we can find your classmates from back then and ask them, am I really the selfish mother who only seeks my own enjoyment without caring for my child? As you say, clothing, and even the cotton fluff stuck to my eyelashes in this photo were identical to the one Baker exposed. The only difference was that, at that moment, Addie stood next to a slender yet bright smiling Baker. As soon as the short video was uploaded, it rose to prominence due to the trending attention. Baker came to find me. Don't you know I'm in the final review stage for my civil service job. I've worked so hard to stand up from thousands of people. Can you please not ruin me? Hurry up and delete the video. If you mess up my career, I will hate you for the rest of my life. Seeing him drenched in sweat, I no longer handed him a towel as I had in the past, fearing he would catch a cold. Your love or hate means nothing to me, Baker, with pain on his face. Are you really going to let things get to this point? What's the point of this? Do as you like. How long can you continue to work in the cotton factory? You don't have social security. When you grow old and weak, will you still rely on your son for support? If you take a step back now, your son will remember your kindness later. His words sounded better than a song, but the goal was still to coax me into giving him money, right? Without a word, I shut the door. When Baker's workplace came for a background check, I truthfully reported everything that had happened recently to the staff. I also showed them Baker's video and the one that slandered me for finding an old man. Within a couple of days, he'd worked hard for a whole year, but in the end, he lost the opportunity because of my few words. That night, Baker dragged my disgusting ex-husband into a live stream to cry about how hard his life was. Family, why is my life so miserable? I don't need her to help me. I just need her not to drag me down. But she ruined my wedding banquet and caused me to lose the hard-won career I fought for. The old man also put on a show in front of the camera. Back then, for Baker, I gave all my property to Addie, just to provide a good living environment for my child. When the old man said that, Baker's lips drooped, and he fell silent for a while. I couldn't believe he had forgotten the suffering of working under the scorching sun on the construction site so quickly. But to punish me, he was willing to collude with the very person who had hurt us the most back then. In the live stream, they were distorting the truth, shamelessly turning me, Addie, into the representative of a woman with long hair and short knowledge. whose poor choice in marriage ruined 3 generations. Years ago, for Baker, I had endured everything in silence. This time, I had no weak point. It was truly laughable that Carrie still thought he could manipulate me. I dug up the divorce agreement from back then, along with photos of me working hard on the construction site carrying bricks behind Baker's back, sewing at a garment factory, living in a tiny rental apartment, and laboring in the cotton factory. Charles, the son of the qipao shop owner, learned about my situation while visiting his mother and volunteered to create a comprehensive 30-page PowerPoint presentation for me. He not only sent it to Baker's high school and university but also to the Women's Federation of Videos, of course. The most important part was that I immediately uploaded the PPT online. Many kind girls started speaking out for me. Did you see? At critical moment, An can never empathize with his mother. Auntie Addie must be so sad. She gave up everything for her son, only to have him side with the original perpetrator. Attacking Auntie Addie, Baker's fan key, please run away. And with such a cold heart might betray you too. Public opinion began to turn again. Baker and Carrie could fabricate many lies, but everyone has independent thinking abilities. They can discern who is in the right. After the online opinion shifted in my favor, a few boys posted collaborator short videos online supporting me. Then, we all remember Addie delivering lunch in rain or shine. How could you forget after just 5 years? It was the same boys who had taken a group photo with Baker and me back then. They privately messaged me to come for me, and even sent me many local specialties to the cotton factory. When I told them the cotton factory was closing down, those kind-hearted kids even asked if I needed help finding an easier job. Although I couldn't spend all the rent I earned from my shop, I was still very touched. I made each of them a handmade silk quilt and sent it to them. As the collaborated videos from these boys went viral online, Adeline came to visit me personally. I thought she was there to plead Baker's case, and I was considering how to refuse her. But to my surprise, she opened with a farewell. Auntie, I booked a flight back to Guyane for tomorrow. It's likely we won't see each other again. The girl had red, swollen eyes, clearly finding it hard to make this decision. But she raised her head and said earnestly, Auntie, I looked down on Baker for being so harsh to you. I patted her hand. I'm sorry. If I hadn't ruined your wedding banquet. Maybe. Adeline shook her head firmly. Auntie, I've woken up from countless nightmares, and am extremely grateful for everything you've done. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to see clearly the person I was preparing to spend my life with. When the girl left, I handed her a silk quilt as well. There are so many lovely children in this world. But unfortunately, I gave birth to a burning piece of charcoal. How disappointing. The day after Adeline left, while I was returning from the market with groceries, Baker confronted me holding a fruit knife. You can harm me. But why do you have to bully Adeline? After talking to you, she left and blocked me. Did you teach her to block me and leave? Didn't I just stop you from getting on stage at the wedding? You're really malicious. You ruined my wedding, destroyed my career, and now you've driven away the girl I love the most. Dad says you're the most venomous scorpion. And I finally believe it. Hearing such slanderous words didn't hurt as much anymore. Just because you didn't let me on stage at the wedding, you think I'm not dignified? Then you'll step out of your life and let the dignified people manage your life. Baker's eyes turned red as he looked at me with resentment. You know you're forcing me. I laughed out loud despite myself. Baker, I'm really curious. Can you tell me why you know your dad won't help you prepare? Knowing your dad's contributions to you are not even 1/10 of mine. Yet you still wantonly harm me to please your dad. Can you explain that to me? Baker looked impatient and even rolled his eyes. You're my mom. Can't you really be angry with me? But the more I please my dad, and he can give me an extra house or a car. How do you not understand that? I had imagined countless reasons, but I never thought it would be this one. It turned out he loved neither his dad nor me. He only loved tangible interests and benefit. But why should I keep being nice to him and constantly back him up? I have my own life too. Recently, Charles started a travel program called Golden Age Tour and asked me if I was interested in being an experience officer for the elderly group during the National Day Golden Week. In simple terms, it meant helping him test the comfort and reasonableness of the itinerary, while he would take me on the trip for free and even pay me a salary. I immediately agreed. While I was on the cruise ship with Charles enjoying the sea breeze, an explosive piece of news popped up on my phone screen. Father designs to drag his own son into debt to repay gambling debt. The video was blurred, but having raised Baker since he was little, I would recognize him even if he turned to ashes. The man tied up and hanging against the wall in the video was undoubtedly Baker and Carrie. Through the comment, I learned that Carrie had squandered all the family assets over the years on food, drink, and gambling. His mistress had run off with his last remaining asset. Left with nothing, Carrie hoped to get rich overnight through gambling. The result was that he fell deeper into debt. When he found out that my cotton factory had been demolished, and I received a compensation payment, and with Baker getting married, he tricked Baker into treating him as a guest by promising to gift him a property for his wedding. Motivated by profit, each had ulterior motives, effectively calculating against each other. After I expressed my disappointment and walked away, Carrie watched helplessly as a large sum of money slipped away from him, and thus he designed a scheme to lure Baker into gambling. They agreed on a profit-sharing arrangement of 70-30. Baker borrowed a considerable amount from loan sharks and cowed and even come up with the property I had said I would gift him. Justice and Baker were now tied together. Carrie thought the casino had tricked him and ran into an undercover journalist at the casino, leading to the exposure of the video and the dismantling of the criminal gang. Both of them had poor character but surprisingly good luck. Carrie was charged with enticing others into gambling and was locked up. Financial loss was about nothing, and their faces were ruined. They had become the laughing stock of marketing accounts, mere electronic pets in the eyes of internet users. Desperate, Baker started a live stream in front of my house. Family, and not afraid to let you laugh at me. I only learned about my mom's shop demolition and the compensation from you all. I admit, I did some pretty ugly things to get a bit more money from my dad. But let me ask you, your dad had treated you poorly since childhood. What do you want to get a little more? Addie is my real mom. We're family. Sacrificing her a little to make my dad happy wouldn't hurt us, right? I don't know what Addie is so sensitive about. Although everyone despised him, they had to admit he was gaining a lot of attention. Many internet users confronted him in the live stream. Why do I feel like there's a point in what he's saying? Just because Addie loves him and treats him well, that mean he can hurt her at will? The debates among netizens were relentless. Seizing the opportunity, Baker immediately began promoting products. He found the secret to gaining traffic. Every day he would criticize his dad and reminisce about the past, then cry and present himself as a pure, misunderstood boy hurt by his father and misunderstood by his mother. I didn't believe those crocodile tears for a second. On the first day back from the travel agency, I ran into Baker and his camera at my doorstep, with a tone mixed with tears. "Nah, you're wrong. I know you're the only one who loves me unconditionally in this world. Others only treat me well for their own gain." Could he realize his mistake so quickly? I didn't believe it, but with him causing trouble over and over, I was really fed up, and I wanted to see what tricks he had up his sleeve. In this world, how can a mother really be angry with her child? Good boy. I saw in the news that Terry is a terrible person who even deceives his own son. He will get what he deserves eventually. Baker cried like there was no tomorrow, throwing his arms around me. Mom, I knew it. I knew you would always back me up. As he sobbed and confessed in my arms, the viewers in the live stream began to curse me. The viewers' breast milk is also breast milk. I really want to see a play about chasing mom back. Please don't post this online. Sisters upstairs. I've been following this since Baker first spread rumors, feeling heartbroken and supporting Auntie Addie. And now she has forgiven that's comeback son so easily. Respect, Ula, and lock this down. Please don't let me see this. Disgusts me. I silently apologize to these kind kids in my heart. I was forced to make this decision. As my attitude softened, Baker started coming home more often. Every time he came back, he would definitely start a live stream. Video and obedient son routine lasted for half a month until Baker finally revealed his true colors. Mom, my friend recently invested in solar panels and is making a lot of money. I remember you bought me a house in full. Can I sell it? As long as the investment is good. We'll get 10 times the return within a month. I don't know whether it's me or Auntie Addie who's being foolish. I knew it would come to this. Yet here I am. Please don't give him the house. I'm begging you. Addie, please wake up. Love for a child must have limit. Fearing that this would develop further and truly upset the viewers, I seized the moment and prepared to strike back. Are you talking about the house I bought you for your wedding? Baker pretentiously walked up to me, giving me a shoulder rub. Yes. Just support my career. I calmly enjoyed his service until it was about time, then smiled and said, I sold that house. Baker's hand, which was originally massaging my shoulders, suddenly tightened into a fist. Where's the money? That house, plus the money from your demolition, and the wedding cancellation fee. Give me the money. You have at least $2 million in your hands. The viewers in the live stream were already too exhausted to make sarcastic comment. Bet on a spicy strip. Addie will be online crying within half a month. You think too highly of her. She won't last through tonight without crying. Amidst the viewers' sarcastic comment, I calmly replied, I spent it all. Baker's eyes widened in shock. That's my money. How could you spend it without my permission? What money can you? A rural woman. Hurry up and give it to me. I'm starting a business. Ice call. Your money? Did you even earn a single cent? Baker became frantic. That was my inheritance. How could you just spend it? You old hag. Why aren't you dead yet? The viewers in the live stream couldn't contain their laughter. Everyone, say it together, breaking down defenses. Breaking. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, you never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. Aunt Hattie, if you had said this earlier, I wouldn't have been so angry I couldn't eat. Idol should be treated this way. Give him hope, then destroy it yourself. Upon hearing that I sold the house and had no cash left, Baker immediately started crying. I just need $1 million. Once I turn things around, we won't have to work hard for the rest of our lives. The reporters helped him once, and he didn't expect to fall into the trap again. Then hastily took time. I wouldn't care about him anymore. The Golden Age tour program I was managing became incredibly popular nationwide. Once it was launched, it garnered a wide range of elderly customers wanting to travel with Simon. Online, the adorable kid said I was the older version of a strong female lead, living an extraordinary life. Just as everything was going smoothly, a call came in on my phone. Linz, I am on. You're getting popular, and your career is thriving. I presume you can easily fork out $2 million to save your son. You'd better not call the police. Otherwise, I have ways to deal with him. Accompanying this phone call, desperate cries echoed in my ears. I felt like I was transported back to my younger days, when I could hear Baker's heart-wrenching cries before even entering the house after working overtime at the factory. Life was tough back then, but Baker relied on me wholeheartedly. Now that life had improved, I found I no longer had a son. I hung up the phone and called the police. When the police arrived, that I had reported them stabbed Baker to death. The police followed the thug's lead and dug deep, eventually uncovering a significant connection between Kara's lover and this organization. Further investigation revealed that the very person who lured Baker into gambling and tricked him into racking up substantial debt was, coincidentally, Kara and her lover. As for Carrie, he was merely a dog used by Kara. When Charles and I were preparing to develop new travel routes, officer called to inform me that Kara and her lover, who caused my son's death, were sentenced to 10 years for multiple offenses. While in prison, they provided substantial evidence against Carrie in hopes of reducing their sentences, ultimately leading to Carrie's 12-year sentence. I hung up the phone feeling satisfied. Charles comforted me in my grief, but I just laughed. I felt relieved that the people I hated could no longer disgust me. I only felt refreshed. I didn't feel grief at all. I felt completely unburdened, and was even ready to develop more travel routes.